thing that came out of spring, obviously with Jackson Matteo moving to first team there on center. Can you talk about his development and what he kind of did to earn that spot, and what's his role going to be like this fall?
Well, right now he's our starting center. When we sat out and kind of analyzed the first few days of spring football, most of our offensive staff is brand new, so there was as much of us getting to know the players and where they fit in best as anything. I mean, we were installing a new offense, but we needed to get to know the players, and not just through winter conditioning, but in pads and what they do and what they do well and so forth. So, as always with the offensive line, you're trying to get your best five in there. We felt like as spring ball progressed, he was one of the best five, and just worked out that Luke could play guard, and we bumped him into the center spot. We're still kind of developing some combinations in the offensive line. That'll be one of the points of interest, obviously, as we get going in camp, and certainly as a need, we need to develop the 6th, 7th, 8th guy in that area.
Will Mike making the calls from center, or will Luke be doing some of that?
Both.
Okay.
Yeah, both. Luke certainly, with his experience and some of the things he's done, he'll be involved. The center does generate a lot of our calls, but out of the shotgun, a lot of times we want the guard to be looking downfield, and the center to concentrate on getting the ball back. So both of them will be involved. In that whole spot of the whole front five has to communicate. It's not just one guy. I told them what to do. I mean, they got to talk and make sure they're seeing the same thing and identifying the same guy as the Mike and so forth. So.
How much of the offense were you able to put in the spring?
What's that now?
How much of the offense were you able to put in the spring, and how much?
I'd say we put in a little bit of every phase. I don't know, 75% maybe. But it became less about getting our offense installed as we got going, and more about learning what we have as players and what they do well. Because it doesn't matter what I want to run. If either we have a fullback or we don't, or we have a third receiver or we don't. And if we do, what does that guy do? Is he a possession guy, a change of direction guy, and so forth? So, and we're not complete there. I mean, we need to still learn more about our guys as we get going. But we put in a good deal of offense, not the entire thing.
Mike mentioned that presuming Cascarano can't go, that at least one, perhaps two true freshmen will have to see some time. And the old adage is the closer you are to the ball, the more difficult that transition is.
Yeah, you certainly don't want to play true freshmen. And, on the offensive side of the ball, the offensive line and the quarterback spot are really developmental spots. And you want to keep a close eye on recruiting those in terms of numbers and talent level, because they're hard to develop. It's a little bit easier for us if we have a deficiency at a running back or receiver to go fix that, as opposed to fixing the line or fixing the quarterback spot. So you don't want to play early, but again, nowadays in college football, if a guy can help you, they're going to play. And kids seem to get bigger and bigger every year coming out of high school, more developed, not just in the line, but in every spot. So we're excited about the five we have coming in, so we'll see.
You have a lot of catches from the returning wide receiver spots. What do you think of your wide receiver core?
Well, I like the way we developed in the spring. The job Marcus did. Again, they're different type of guys. When you talk about Tim Smith, you're talking about a different skill set than Darius James or some of the other guys. So again, everybody's got a good secondary, and it's silly for us to just put a guy out there and say you're going to beat a guy, you run by him, and you're going to separate and get open. You got to give those guys the right tools in terms of splits and routes and some things to help them get going. And a lot of it depends on what kind of route runner they are. And I think we've got a lot of different type of guys in that spot, so we just got to get them doing what they do.
What about Terrell, who kind of came on late?
Yeah, he did a nice job in the spring. He certainly gives us a change of direction, a little run after catch, and some things in the slot that we're going to try to build on.
Steve, what do you have in David Watford?
David, like Grayson Lambert, has done just a remarkable job since I was hired and came on board. The want to, the work ethic, all those type of things are off the chart with both those guys. So I like our skill set at quarterback. I think whoever it is has a chance to be a very good player. You know, we're gonna be young, but I think we'll be very good at that spot.
Steve, in your coaching history, how often have you let kind of a quarterback battle go on all August, and how often have you made a decision early? What advantages and disadvantages are there?
Well, you know, obviously the best scenario is to have a returning quarterback. You know, a guy that's played well. And, you know, it's nothing like going into spring football and fall camp with a guy that's played and been productive, and you build around that. You know, we don't have that situation right now. I did, you know, and I think Mike and our offense staff, everybody's the same way. You know, I mean, we want to develop and decide on a quarterback here pretty quick, but you know, when the time's right, we'll know. I mean, you know, we got guys on our staff, from Coach London all the way down, that coached a lot of football. You know, we're not going to force anything. It'll be obvious when it's obvious, and you know, quit stressing about this. We'll do it on this day. We'll just let them play and compete a little bit. We'll get going after a few practices, and I'm sure we'll have an idea who best gives us a chance to win.
Steve, when you walk into a new situation like this and having gone through the spring and all that, do you sort of have a, based on your previous stops, do you sort of have a mental checklist of things that you want to get accomplished as far as what you want to see, I guess, barriers that players need to get over by a certain amount of time?
Yeah,
that kind of thing.
I don't know. I don't know if I'm headed the right way with what you're asking, but I mean, right away we've got to establish, and that goes for spring football now, reestablish, I guess, in the month of August, a way that we expect our kids to play. You know, from an effort standpoint, from a consistent effort standpoint, we certainly have got to develop some toughness in our run game. And I think it really starts, and we'll talk to our offense the very first meeting about this. I still believe this, and nobody's going to convince me otherwise, that we'll give ourselves a chance to win if we don't beat ourselves. And I mean, we've got to start from day one in spring, or excuse me, in fall camp, of not turning the ball over and not doing unforced errors. You know, if we can line up right, attempt to do the right assignment, do it in a play hard, play fast way, and protect the football, then you'd be amazed how many games you're in at that point. So, yeah, there's a style of play. I don't know if I'm answering your question right, but that's, and you know, those type of things I learned, you know, like Mike and our entire staff, you know, you just can't turn the button on September 7th or whenever and say, you know, hey, we got to do a better job of protecting football. There's a certain way to play this football game that we have to establish from day one and coach it every day if we have any chance of getting it done.